The government has this week announced details of a new permanent basic income for the arts scheme, which will see 2,000 artists receive €325 per week for 3 years. The successor to the pilot programme launched back in 2022. The scheme has been described as a major milestone by Minister Patrick O'Donovan and a move that puts Ireland at the forefront of artist supports internationally. With applications set to open in May, we're joined now by Peter Power, steering group member of the National Campaign for the Arts, and the Ennis singer-songwriter Laura Mulcahy as well. And thanks to both of you for joining me on the show. Peter, is this the major milestone for the arts in Ireland that Minister O'Donovan is billing it as?
It's been a long campaign, and of course the pilot was very transformative for the rest of the country. We were always campaigning for to retain, extend and expand the programme. In terms of retention, of course, that's come to pass. In terms of extending it, it's been made permanent, which was a hugely welcome outcome. However, it wasn't expanded. And that was ultimately the hope for us. There was over 8,500 applicants originally, and over 2,000, or just 2,000 were supported. I presume those numbers will be the same when the next version opens. So that does leave a large amount of people outside of the funding structure. But we also have to see it as a first, and the Minister himself described it as that we need to continue campaign to expand in that regard. So it is world changing, it is world leading, but it's not what the figures bore out. We would love to see it opened up and enlarged, and it's good that the Minister agrees with that.
Laura, as a singer-songwriter yourself, what was your reaction when you heard the scheme has been made permanent?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. You sound excited. Are you as excited about the scheme though?
I'm excited because I'm about to wash the dishes here. I have to extend a huge thank you to the National Campaign for the Arts because they have done an absolutely amazing job.
And in what respect? Tell us more.
Just in making the idea of the basic income for the arts more visible. They ran an incredible campaign coming up to Culture Night last year. It was just excellent, and they, extended the invitation to lots of artists, myself included, to get involved. I just think if any artist is out there today, local or otherwise, link in with the National Campaign for the Arts. You won't look back.
Well, I'm sure Peter and those at the National Campaign for the Arts really appreciate the plaudits. Would you be offering similar plaudits for the permanent basic income for the arts scheme, though? Peter has highlighted that the number of artists who will benefit hasn't been extended. Is that an issue for you?
Well, it's also 3 years on, 3 years off, which is very unstable. The whole point of the thing in the first place was stability. So that doesn't exactly float my boat. But what I will say about it is it's a start, okay? And whether it's 3 years on, 3 years off or whatever, at least it's going to be there. At least it's something. So now we can campaign for more. Because, we need and deserve more. Without the arts, we wouldn't have Jessie Buckley and we wouldn't have Paul Mescal at the moment out there in Hollywood doing what they're doing. Ironically, that film is about the life of Shakespeare, and it took 2 Irish to bring the character to life. So, if anyone says that, I don't know, some of the comments I saw on Twitter or whatever were absolutely terrible. Like, everyone in Ireland is about to become an artist because we're free money, or it's like a wave of stupidity has washed over Ireland, or that we're paying for people hobbies. I doubt very much that Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal feel that their work is a hobby right now.
Yeah, which is a very fair point, Peter. And a scheme like this, it seems only we'll get into particularly that 3 years on, 3 years off aspect of it, but for a country that prides itself, Peter, on the arts, and it's one of our big selling points as part of our cultural offering, to not support artists, and for that kind of scepticism out there that €325 a week for 3 years would be enough to convince people to give up whatever else they were doing just to become an artist for the sake of it, is a bit disappointing to hear.
It is. It's also just, as per usual, a completely misunderstanding of what being a professional artist is. I mean, it's that phrase sometimes, everybody might own a cookbook. It doesn't make them a chef. I think everyone is entitled and should have access to art. It's an incredibly important part of the fabric of society. But very few people are capable or interested even in becoming professional artists. It's a very particular way of framing your life, a very particular way of working. It's no better than anything else. It's no worse. It's just the thing you choose to do. It's the life that you're given. And so it isn't really about, waking up in the morning and just like throwing in the towel and one thing and doing this because it's easy. It's actually extremely, extremely difficult to be a professional artist. And also it's really important to remember where the scheme came out of. The scheme came out of the fact that the statistics went on to show that professional artists in Ireland have the highest level of education and the lowest rate of pay in the country. They also have 3 times the rate of poverty or enforced deprivation than anyone else in society. And even people that were on the basic income had 2 times the rate of enforced deprivation to the rest of society. The point being that professional art, because of the way it's treated financially and treated culturally, makes it such that you become bound into a process of poverty. And this support was just to basically try and float the line of poverty back up to be in line with the rest of the country's earnings. It doesn't give anything extra to artists. It actually just rebalances a deficit. That's how difficult it is to be a professional artist. And to be quite frank, and I mean this genuinely without any sarcasm, if anyone out there is inspired to become an artist truly because of this, that's fantastic. And we welcome them to our community and we look forward to seeing what they make.
Yeah, and I guess another, arrow in the quiver against the argument from those who give out about this scheme is that for every €1 invested, external analysis found a €1.39 return to society. But Laura, just how big an offering is what's on offer on the scheme that could potentially convince people to throw their lives into being an artist, a songwriter, whatever it might be? €325 a week for 3 years affords some level of stability, but I'm just thinking of where grocery prices are at and rent, and what difference would that realistically make to an independent musician trying to sustain a career?
Well, you'll be able to buy the shopping, but it's only for 3 years you'll be able to do it. It's not stability at all. Okay, you only get 3 years at this, then you get kicked off being able to reapply for another 3 years. It's quite like being on a CE scheme as well. The rules are quite harsh. You have a certain amount of stability for a certain amount of time. You're only allowed to do a certain amount of time on this program. So look, even if you do apply, then if you're eligible in the next 3 years, you're up against another 8,000 people. Like, the chances of even getting it in the first place are so slim. It is a competitive award that you're going for yet again, unfortunately. But what it is a start and is something that we can all build on. And that is why I'm using my time today to call my local artists to link in with the National Campaign for the Arts.
Final word, yeah.
Here is where we start and here is where we can build from.
Final word to you on this, Peter. The Minister has said this is a start and he'd like to expand it. Would you be hopeful the numbers who can avail will expand beyond 2,000 artists? And do you hope that potential changes could be made, like this, the scheme operating in 3-year cycles? If you have that money that secures you for 3 years, that's fine. But then the 3 years that you don't, those will seem like 3 very long years, and that could put an end to your artistic endeavours.
To respond to that part of it, I think the rolling application is just unfortunately based on the fact that the application numbers are limited, and it's about giving space to others. But I feel that we can expand this. I wouldn't have spent the last 5 years of my life volunteering in the National Campaign for the Arts if I didn't. I know that this will be a year-on-year budget push. And that means that year on year, we can change the frame of this award. Not every 3 years or every 6 years. This is a yearly or monthly, even in some cases, campaign that we need to fight. This is the beginning of a new entire stream of valuation of art and funding in Ireland. And that means that we now, as a community, have to come together around it, understand what it's missing, understand what the seed of it represents. And I believe that there evidence, like ironclad, grounded research evidence to prove it returns to the exchequer, it returns to the culture, it returns to the mental health, the value of art. And so we all need to push in the same direction. And I do genuinely believe if we do that together, we will extend it, we will expand it, and ultimately, hopefully, it will end up in the hands of the people who deserve it most, the artists in Ireland who are dedicated to their professionalism.
Okay, we do have to leave it there, but thanks so much to both of you for giving us your views on that. Really appreciate it. That's Peter Power there, steering group member of the National Campaign for the Arts, and the Ennis singer-songwriter Laura Mulcahy.